Good evening and greetings from Minneapolis. I am here at a conference to give a presentation with my mentor from Michigan State, Dr. Cindy Taggart. But I wanted to actually have some FaceTime with you guys tonight, even though you're only seeing my face, not seeing yours, to maybe give you a little bit of clarification about why we're doing some of the things that we're doing. The main purpose for these activities is because you are eventually going to be music teachers and you will be working with students that are culturally incredibly diverse. And the opportunity to go to Hungary gives us the chance to explore these issues of diversity and what I'm going to tell you about intercultural competence. And this really can impact your role as a teacher in incredible ways. So when we think about cultural diversity, it's really complex. And a lot of times what first comes to mind is race and ethnicity. But all these cultural facets go way beyond just race and ethnicity. And they're often factors that guide us toward particular directions and away from others. Each of us belongs to multiple cultural groups that tell us what's normal and what's accepted and what is not. And our culture is really multi-layered, so what's visible can often obstruct what's underneath. So if you think about culture, it's always in flux, it's really elastic, and just because someone belongs to a particular cultural group doesn't mean that they share all the attributes of that group. For instance, music educators are considered a cultural group. Within that cultural group might be flute players. Maybe people have stereotypical beliefs about flute players, and some people might have those attributes and some people might not. So culture is always changing. Since culture is really closely associated to our identities, and that's who we think we are, and the ways that we make meaning what is important to us, it's always this factor that creates conflict. So cultural awareness leads us to practicing the platinum rule in place of the golden rule. So rather than do unto others as you would have them do unto you, the platinum rule says, do unto others as they would have you do unto them. Because what someone else might value might be very different from what we might value. So there are an incredible number of cultural groups that you can belong to. And you might want to think about the different cultural groups that you might have membership in, like male or female, your particular age, the geographical area where you grew up, your parents' educational level, your family structure, that you're a musician, whether you're marching band or choir or orchestra, whether you play gamelan, what kinds of traditions your family celebrates, what kind of faith you ascribe to, what your parents did for a living, what socioeconomic level they're at, your political beliefs, what kind of music you listen to, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So one way to be more effective as a teacher of students who are different from you, and they all are different from you in multiple ways, is to become interculturally competent. And intercultural competence is this theory that was first put forth in the areas of clinical psychology and counseling when those practitioners found that their clients were becoming much and much more different from them. And so they needed to do something to become more able to work with them effectively. So the theory basically states that before you can begin to understand someone who's different from you in any way, you really have to understand yourself. And there are stages of intercultural competence that I can share with you lately. But the perspective that I'm taking is that traveling to a foreign country gives us the perfect opportunity for us to explore the concept of intercultural competence in order to hopefully bring more awareness to you as a prospective teacher. However, there's only so much that we can do in the period of time that we have. And since the first step of intercultural competence is to become more aware of who you are, my focus during this course is on that. So all of the activities that we've engaged in have been either to promote some sense of self-awareness and some sense of who you are and why you are the way you are and why you believe the things that you do, as well as through the photography exercises to help you see the world in a more open way, to be able to see value in things that you might not have seen otherwise, to look at things differently. So the activities that we've done as assignments in class, like writing the autobiography, like taking the personality test, all of those kinds of things were to help us explore some of our behaviors that we normally engage in that can be explained by our personality traits, which some can be hardwired based on physiological reasons. Many of them are created by our past experiences. So, all of these are ways to examine what makes each of us unique and one of a kind individuals. And our beliefs and attitudes and values are just as unique. So when we become aware of these issues and we think about them, we can begin to imagine how those beliefs and attitudes and values impact our interaction with others on this trip with Hungarian natives, and eventually with our future students. So, journaling really, really important to give you a chance to reflect about the things that we've done. So, if you haven't been doing that, you will be required to do that on the trip for sure. Um, the camera activities, like I said, were to help us see things in a little bit different way. When we look at things very closely, all of a sudden we begin to notice details that we haven't been aware of before. When we stop and look at something before we want to receive that image, we take time to actually see. And we often don't do that throughout our day. And taking time to actually see what's going on with your students is incredibly important. So, we'll talk more about intercultural competence and why it's so incredibly important, not only in the context of our trip to Hungary, but also in the context of your role as a future teacher and being more effective with your students who are going to be each and every one of them, very unique individuals. So I hope that's helped you clarify a little bit about why I've been asking you to do some of the things that I've been asking you to do. And now what I would like you to do is to go back over all of the exercises that have been posted on Blackboard, all of the photographic assignments that I've given you, the I am poem. I want you to go back and reflect over all of those things with two main things in mind. One, who am I and why am I the way I am? And how does that impact what I believe and what I see as valuable and what I see as important? And how can I recognize that every single individual also sees the world in a very unique way? And secondly, how can I open my eyes to the differences that exist out there, to the details that exist out there? How can I be more receptive to what is out there in the world? How can I expand my own worldview? So go back and revisit those things and think about them in that context. And I will see you next Thursday, if not before. Thanks for letting me sit in tonight.